I got reached out to by the comic book writer for Storm, Murewa Ayodele. Recently, since I've seen this tweet, Storm being sold out in almost every comic book store within an hour. Storm, you will always be famous, this person said. They were celebrating that, hearing that it would be sold out in an hour. How many people liked this tweet? It says 324. And I thought, wow, dummies. This one also says, Storm number 1 is already sold out at my comic shop and they've only been open for an hour. And this person's upset about it. And down below you'll read, so good to see comics selling so well. People loving the work that the super talented artists were doing. The movies had made comics popular again. So I'm seeing this come out. And I've been over the last since that happened on Wednesday, educating of how stupid that is and how these sales were determined back in August. And now that they're in your shop and they sold out an hour, you got to think that just means that your shop didn't put enough on the shelf. They didn't predict or anticipate that there would be an audience. That shop that sold out in 1 hour, or anyone who sold out on Wednesday period, they didn't have that many on the shelf. There were not busloads of people coming to pick up the comic book. What are you celebrating? And I'm not going to not speak on it to ruin someone's blissful feeling or the euphoria of those 300 people who like that comic because Storm is selling out in an hour? That's amazing. Nah, it's not amazing because your store isn't ordering enough. And if you go to a comic book and you pick it off the shelf rather than being a pull list subscriber, rather than being a regular, if you're doing that and taking it off the shelf, you're kind of costing somebody who would have, on an impulse, on a FOMO, fear of missing out, just collect that comic book. You should have been the diehard people who ensured by communicating to your shop, I want this comic. And if enough people did that at your shop, the store would have said, oh, he just asked me, she just asked me, and he just asked me, and he just asked me for a Storm comic. Fine, I'm going to put more on I'll get them theirs and I'll reserve theirs, but also add more to my shelves. You could have made it so that when dudes come to the shop on Thursday and Friday and Saturday, they will get their comic book. But now little Steve is going to the comic book shop on Thursday and it's out of stock, and now he's not going to be reading Storm. And he's a completionist. Why would he start reading 2 if he doesn't even have issue 1? Or maybe he'll stop caring by the time they reprint issue number 1, because he's got this huge ass stack that he got from the comic shop anyway when he went on Thursdays, and he's satisfied. We just cost a reader. We cost a reader for at least for a week. We cost readers. We shouldn't be happy that a store is out of stock of comic books. That's the point of why I did this. So then Murewa Ayodele has reached out to me, so let's deal with that one. Underneath, I actually got to share you with something that I did. I said to someone, because I was reading all these tweets and I was wrong, but I said to this person, he's ignorant. The final order cutoff date for issue 2 was in September. Your shops can't pre-order. By the way, that's false. You can still pre-order. You still have 6 more days to pre-order your comic book. Make sure you pre-order issue number 2 of Storm. I was going off of something that doesn't exist anymore. It used to be where it right now would be too late to pre-order your book. That's not the case anymore. You can pre-order that book. Murewa corrected me. Hey Chillmonger, love your videos. A few info from the backstage though. Storm number 1 topped the charts in international markets like Brazil and Netherlands. It was number 1 bestseller of the week in the US and UK. It was number 5, with a week stacked with DC juggernauts. This has nothing to do with the way I began this. If it's number 1, the bestseller, well, if you went to a shop on Wednesday in the US, in the UK, in the Netherlands, or in Brazil, if you go to the shop and if Steve goes in Brazil, if Santos goes to the shop on Thursday and he can't find a comic because it's out of stock, it's the same problem internationally. Telling me that it is a bestseller doesn't equate to a number. There's no number. Like there's no, how do I say number in a different way? It could be a bestseller and only 50,000 units sold. It could be a bestseller and 100,000 units sold. There's nothing material here to say. And it also doesn't matter to the point that I'm making, which is that the shops who earlier, the tweets that I showed you, those shops that didn't collect enough storms, and the customers who didn't tell their shops to collect the order storms is the problem here. And the lack of pre-orders is my problem here. That the comic was pre-ordered so little that we were out of stock on Wednesday. Now, if we're out of stock on Monday, today's Monday as I'm recording this, I'm not making the same videos. I would still wish that the comic didn't sell out and was out of stock. I would still hope that people can still come tomorrow and get a comic, and next week, to get a comic. I would still hope for that. That would be optimal, but at least the most of the demand was met. But the supply did not meet the demand. There's no way to spin that I'll accept that. They were under ordered. At the shops I'm talking about that were what we all heard, 1 hour they were sold out. All those shops, they were under ordered. If they could rewind time and tell them, hey, by the way, it's August, so we rewind the time all the way to August. Hey, on October 2nd, how many comics do you want? They would say, oh, well, I'm going to get a few more than I thought I was going to get because I sold out in an hour. There's going to be so many customers. And we want the readership for Storm to be really high because issue number 1, the way the sales work, everybody, issue number 1 is the highest selling comic book of it. And then we'll go down to issue 2 with less, with 3 with less, 4, 5, 6, 7, less, and less. Comic stores order heavy in the beginning. And then when they can kind of gauge what the readership is, that's when we find out how many comics are actually being picked up at the store because the orders are going to reflect that. And all of a sudden, cancellation is the conversation that we're having. Storm was canceled 10 years ago, the last time she had an ongoing series. Storm issue 5 last year was was estimated to be, with a sample size, the 169th bestseller comic. Of course, issue number 1 is a best-selling comic. Or it's a high-selling comic. Bestseller in Brazil and Netherlands. Of course it is. It could have sold well more if shops ordered more. I also don't know how many shops are in Brazil compared to America and how much readers are there compared to American numbers. I'm going off of Diamond. Now, if Murewa Ayodele hit me back up and told me, okay, here's some backstage news. Diamond comic, or the way we used to do it, Diamond, this would have ranked and at the number 1. It would have been the top selling comic book, and it would have been 140,000 units sold. Don't worry, we'll maintain our audience by the time we get to 10. Then I would nod my head and say, what a great point to share. That's pleasing. This comic books are still underordered. There's more from Murewa Ayodele that he wrote, and I appreciate that he wrote these to me. The comic sold out first mostly because of high demand and less of it being underordered. That is spin, and I will not accept it. It did not meet the demand. Yeah, I know. The demand was higher than the supplies were. That's why the comic sold out. But I get your points too. I appreciate that he got my points. Or he's getting my points. It's very nice. This is a good exchange. I like that I'm getting this from him. He says those points were put into consideration. That's why the FOC date for Storm number 2 was put after issue number 1's release. The Storm number 2's FOC is October 14. I hope this helps. It does help. It's because he corrected me on saying something wrong. It helps to know that comic book stores this week who all had their comics sold out, they're like, oh, I was only going to order probably half of my number 1s that I ordered, but I didn't even order enough number 1s. I'll be ordering some more number 2s because now I know, because of all the people who I've let down, all the people who I've turned it down, the customers I've turned away. Now I know they'll expect a number 2. Okay, gotta get Steve. So that's automatically 1 extra comic of issue 2 I was gonna initially order. Because I usually have I usually know how many from the first. If I ordered, let's say, 30 first issues to my store might get only 15 issue number 2s. Because that's just how I always work. Not anymore. So that was useful that Marvel is making the final order cutoff date after issue 1 already comes out for number 2. And 4 weeks from now, we'll have number 2s in our hands. Hi, I'll cover this tomorrow night, which is right now. I apologize for saying the wrong pre-order cutoff date. I'm using the 8th of 2 months ago being the FOC and went under that old assumption. I still want to respectfully challenge the relevance of being a bestseller, all love, which I just did. It's irrelevant that it was a bestseller. And he told me all good, concerning bringing up the bestseller thing, the relevance is just to highlight that people really are doing their best and going all out with the pre-orders. And even though people are doing their best and going all out with the pre-orders, to the shops, which I began this with, those tweets, to the shops who are selling out on Wednesday, those shops didn't order enough. There are some shops right now in the world right now that have many storms. There are shops right now who have so many storms, it might end up in the dollar bin. That exists. Every shop is a case by case basis. Each shop has their own audience. It varies. I am directing my videos and message of the last week to those of you saying a sellout means good things. It does not mean good things. It's never been a good thing. Being out of stock and not having the comic for comic book readers is a bad thing. This character needs every comic it can get. Did he tweet me only twice? I think there was 3 tweets underneath here. He didn't put it in a thread. He put it like separately. And then he says, Storm number 2 has said, was also written to be very good jumping on point too. Marvel ran a very tight ship for this book, from promotion to sales to the material itself. So our part is to make sure pre-orders keep coming in and not discourage the process. Well, I appreciate the first part of that sentence. Our part is to make sure pre-orders keep coming in. I 100% agree with that. And not discourage the process. It implies that I was discouraging the process. Every video I've ever done, even before this week, I always said to pre-order the comic, and I'm always saying to get to. He gives me thanks. I should have liked that tweet, actually. Now I will. He says, thank you, and I appreciate that. Chillmonger on the search bar. I'll say Storm. Now, I searched the word Storm in my name, so these are the times I've tweeted about it. On July 31, I said, excited for the Storm comic book. Check the date, and we still have a while. Let's not fail this character. I'm not discouraging at all. I'm only encouraging. And he never said I was discouraging. It just implied it. And I want to show how I'm not implying it. I said, if 15,000 people don't pre-order Storm issue 10 in May, it may actually be June of 2025 because the comic will come out in July. It's scheduled to come out in July. If 15,000 don't pre-order Storm, this series will be canceled. I don't want to have the inevitable why it was canceled explanation, so please collect an extra copy. The reason I said 15,000 is because there is a pattern of 15,000 units being the benchmark of whether or not a comic book will continue. That's going to vary for various reasons, but generally the rule is a comic that doesn't even have 15,000 units being sold in the North American market, that Diamond, when before Lunar, before Penguin Random House, when Diamond were the only ones that we got their information from, and when an estimated below 15,000 units were being sold, we actually learned, oh, this comic is about to be canceled, or this was the final issue and now it is canceled. That's a routine pattern. Fact check me on that one. That's the thing. Now, I said that because I'm not going to be the blissful stupidity, ignorance. I'm not going to be that. We're like deep into this. If you look at all of the comics that fail and fail and fail, Black Panther twice got canceled. One got to 15 issues, and then the most recent one got to 10 issues, and we don't even have a Black Panther 616 Black Panther right now. It's not time to be. We need to be cheering. We need to have a hopeful message. I'm not Obama hope. I'm not doing that. I'm doing this is how bad things actually are. This is the reality. The fire is up against us. Oh, you guys didn't know? Yeah, the fire is right there. Pre-order your comic book. You guys can go to someone else to find the cheerful message. I'm not ever going to be cheerful about this. I hope that it goes to 11. That's what I want. I hope they make it go to Tom Brevoort. I hope you're watching, and out of spite, this annoying little YouTuber, I hope out of spite it gets up to issue 15 and before you cancel, at least get extra 5 more. I said down here, in August 13, I said, we're 2 months away from the first issue of the new Storm comic. Pre-order so your store has enough in stock. And we're 12 months away from the final issue because it will be canceled due to low sales. Should have listened to when I said to buy 2 Storms and save your $4 on the bums. Don't be buying any other comic book character. Don't be giving your money to Marvel for any other little bum character. Spend that money that you were going to use on the bum on Storm instead. Buy 2 copies of Storm. That's what I encourage here, especially for 7, 8, 9, and 10. When Marvel is having the decision over whether or not they cancel, they look at the sales and they'll say, yeah, I guess we're canceling. Well, if everyone watching this video right now, however many of you there are, if everyone does buy additional issue of Storm during issue 10, pre-order an additional Storm issue number 10, maybe that'll change the decision. We also don't know what they have in store. I know I heard Murewa Ayodele say he wants to get to 30 issues. Who knows what happens? Maybe by issue 10 they go, plans change. We're going to do the crossover Storm and Eternity, Phoenix and Eternity crossover with Jean and Storm because we're going to combine those books. So both get canceled and it'll be a new number 1 called The Eternal Phoenix. And that's going to be the new comic book. That could happen too. And that would be a failure. But that would be unsuccessful. That would be the opposite of what we want. We want Storm 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 to 30. We want that. We want success. Now, in this tweet here, X-Men fans are not going to save the Storm comic from being canceled. And I'll have the link at the end and you can watch this whole video. But I mean that. Don't be thinking, unlike Black Panther, or unlike Luke Cage, or unlike that Shuri comic book, or unlike the Photon comic book, she's got a base. She's got the X-Men readers. The white ones. They've got money. If you think that they're going to pick up a book in Atlanta, Georgia, and go, that was cool. We got to see Frenzy. Then they go to see Brother Voodoo in the next one. And they've got other characters whose skin is melanated. They're going to say, the racist ones, or I swear I'm not racist ones, are going to go, I don't need to. This book, I all of a sudden, I'm not interested in picking it up anymore. That's what's going to happen. The X-Men fans don't care. The X-Men fans also, actually I'll just play the video of me saying this. Tom Brevoort's new X-Men line has comics that have nothing to do with each other. There's the Alaska team. There's the Louisiana team. Everything isn't going to be mixed the way it's supposed to be. NYX had nothing to do with Phoenix. X-Force is doing their own thing. All of these are so out there that there is not going to be the X-Men fan who goes, I gotta check this one out because it's part of the X-Men. No, they know by now. By October, they'll know. There is no, don't worry, the X-Men bump will get them up. This is cancellation territory. It's clear I'm not taking the optimistic route. The hopeful, the let's not discourage. I hope to think that I am encouraging. This comic can be canceled. It was canceled 10 years ago. Issue 5 of Anno Senti's run was the 169th best performing comic, according to ICV2 sample size. It was a low performing comic, so why wouldn't issue 5 this year be a low performer also? But then cancel at 10. We have every reason to believe that, based off of just recent history. And it has nothing to do with story and creative wise and could it be good, could it be bad. Of course, if you factor those in, those are important things that matter. If the Black Panther comic book was better, or if more readers were digging it, it wouldn't have been canceled at 10. I shouldn't say better. Everything's subjective. Some people love it and it was the best comic that ever happened. How could we not get past 10? But enough people were dropped off. That could be also said here. But the base readership for Storm is not the base readership for Daredevil. And Daredevil is not the base readership for Batman either. These are just truths. Every Wednesday is an election, and we can vote multiple times in this comic book election. You don't only have to pick up one. Pick up multiple to ensure Storm's survivability. Gerrymander the district at the election and make multiple votes. And you'll have, if you appreciate art, you'll have an extra variant cover and the regular cover A, and Storm will continue, and white supremacy takes a big fat L. Yeah, man. I'm chill. I'm out. Here's that video on the side that I said I was gonna watch. Here's the video right there. That was the portion of that video. It's not happy news. It's not a good day. It's not a happy that we got sold out in the first hours on Wednesday before lunchtime. So that's bad news.